Proportional Response. Book 1, Chapter 25, Part 8. Flashes of Combat 3. Eldia stood in her corner, quiet as she could be. Only the Tygesh ambassador remained outside the compound, and nearly everyone had fled. She watched one of the screens as a shuttle lifted off the ground and another landed in its place before the dust had even settled. People, mostly non-human staff from various embassies, jostled to board. She then turned back to the map of the council complex and saw Henry, once again, trying to reach the Tygesh ambassador, who continued to be as contrary as his kind tended to be, and seemed to be taking a perverse glee in playing cat and mouse with the Xultan squads, while generally doing the opposite of whatever his human guards told him he needed to do in order to link up with Henry and get away. Damned contrary Tygesh. Just leave him, darling. Come home. She looked at the battle forming up at the doors to the human embassy. It appeared the Xultan commander had decided to quit hunting Henry directly and cut off his means of escape. She looked at another screen, which showed the shaped charges on an outer wall, ready to make a new escape route for Henry when he finally came in. A Venter face appeared in one of the screens. Eldia couldn't get a good look at it, but the face appeared to be on a starship. She did, however, hear the Venter's report. Flight control to ground control. Reporting Overlord down. Repeat, Overlord is down. The Sultan fleet is retreating. Eldia expected to hear cheering at this announcement, but instead the colonel started to give sharp commands. That's it, folks. We are out of time. Henry, we have incoming. Get your butt to the side entrance. Team 3, tell that Tygesh Nimrod that he comes with you, or he is on his own. Shuttle control, I want. Eldia tuned him out and started looking for Henry on the monitors, then at the courtyard. We will be fine. There are a few shuttles worth of people still to load, but they aren't taking equipment, and people have even stopped arguing about their baggage. We will... Oh, gods and demon. The explosions rumbled under her feet, and movement on other monitors drew her attention. Entire sections of the complex outer wall went down, and Xultans streamed in like a wave. Every monitor showing an outer section of the complex became a sea of Xultan bodies, all pressing forward, all with eyes red and weapons in hand. How did they get so many here to fight? She searched frantically for Henry as the controllers, with a detached calm that she found eerie, ordered everyone to abandon their positions, fall back, and open all doors. She wondered, for a brief moment, what that meant, then heard another series of explosions, much closer this time, and saw a number of new holes in what had to be the human embassy's walls on several monitors. Then she had eyes only for Henry. Tears streamed down her face as she watched him careen through hallways, sometimes straight through pockets of Xultans. She watched his blip on the complex map. He is coming in, finally. Another blip showed that the Tygesh had finally seen sense and followed his human guards. The controllers deftly brought them around pockets of Xultans. The Tygesh made it in first and ran all the way to the shuttles. At least the little snot is finally scared, not laughing manically at the damage he is causing. They got to the courtyard, and the Tygesh insisted he be put on the shuttle about to take off, despite the fact that its doors had already started to close, and any idiot could see the replacement already coming in to land behind it. Someone finally decked the idiot and knocked him out cold, then loaded him onto the next shuttle. She heard the colonel mutter something about "shouldn't have done that" and "should have done it sooner," both in the same breath. Then Henry rocketed through one of the open holes, bounded off a wall, and streaked forward. He hit another wall with both feet, stopped, landed on his back, and started to pull at the armor he was wearing. 3 soldiers appeared from what seemed like nowhere to help him, and they got the thing off. A cry finally escaped Eldia when she saw the burns on Henry's body. What did that thing do to him? The colonel whirled toward her, eyes wide. Get to the shuttles. Go. The man then turned to the monitors. The soldiers who had helped Henry out of his suit ran behind him as he sprinted through the embassy. The colonel turned back to her and opened his mouth to yell with his hand raised in what she expected to be an order to escort her out. She glanced at the monitors again and saw Henry had almost made it to the courtyard, and in an instant she wished to be nowhere else. She hit the doors and kept accelerating, using hands or feet on walls to change direction when needed. In moments she burst out into sunlight and bedlam. She heard another shuttle whine as it lifted from the ground. Its door hadn't even closed all the way. How many safeties did the pilot have to override? Wait, how can their pilots override those safeties? Why would... The next shuttle came in hot on the heels of the one that had just left. Its door hung open and a man stood in the large doorway, strapped to the floor, and behind some sort of mounted gun. Oh, that's why. Before the shuttle even hit the ground, 2 humans stood to either side of the gunner and tossed some sort of packages at human soldiers who took them to one side. Then Henry ran through the door. His eyes went straight to her and his face clouded with hard anger. Oops. She grabbed a medic pack and rushed towards him anyway. He shouted something, she couldn't hear him over the din, and pointed at her. From the way several people looked at her, she didn't need to hear him. He wants me on a shuttle. Barricades had been set up all over the entire courtyard, and they had wire going between them. Are those mines strapped to the barricade? A handful of clear lanes had been left open from some of the doors to the 2 clear circles where the shuttles landed, but she watched as soldiers began placing more barricades behind Henry. Other soldiers ran past her, carrying more of what had to be those mines. She ran to Henry as best she could while she picked her way between barricades, hurried people, and ordnance. She grabbed more power packs for the pulse rifle she'd thrown over her shoulder. When she got to Henry, she feared he'd yell at her, and he looked about to, so she wrapped her arms around him and locked her lips to his. The kiss lasted an instant and an eternity, she couldn't tell which. When they separated, a quick look around pointed toward instant, but some part of her didn't believe it. His face hardened fast, however, and he started to speak. The shuttle in their circle within the barricades lifted off, this one with its door still wide open and the mounted weapon in place. It had barely left the ground when the nose turret and the door gunner began to lay down fire. Another shuttle, also with guns ablaze, came in so close behind the last one that the blast from the engines never seemed to cease. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the colonel rushing down the last lane going through the barricades, along with his staff from the control room, and someone closed up the last barricades behind him. The colonel got to the edge of the double circle and spoke in penetrating tones.
This is it, folks. The Exultant Horde will be here soon. We've left them a number of things to slow them down, but that is all it is doing, slowing them down. The next shuttle which touches down will be the last, so everyone be ready to leave. Blow it.
F-Anth cried and ducked around a corner. Shaped charges went off, and a section of wall became shrapnel which tore into the Republic's assembly hall. She charged forward, a scream on her lips, the human-supplied slug thrower already bucking in her hands. The doors to the hall had been made to be almost impossible to breach, but, in typical voter arrogance and short-sightedness, they'd given minimal reinforcement, at best, to the walls. She heard several more explosions, and fellow rebels poured through more openings. Most voters, ones who hadn't been turned into diced meat by the charges, had the sense to lay down, put their hands over their heads, and make themselves not look like threats. A few of the assembly guards had the sense to do the same. Anyone who didn't died. F-Anth charged forward over chairs and bodies, both alive and dead, with most of her attention fixed on the obscenity sitting on a throne. That delusional, evil, stupid bitch really thought she could have herself crowned and live to tell about it. She gripped her rifle tighter, fired at some idiot who still held a weapon, and pushed forward. Time to show her what Zoltans do to those who wish to wear crowns. Jalat sat there and screamed orders for people to fight, and finally grabbed a pulse pistol from one of her guards and started shooting. Not that the old hag hit anyone. F-Anth's ears popped as pressure wave just missed her head. She turned to fire, but another near miss took the rifle out of her hands. She looked at the source and saw a voter with a pistol, so scared that he missed twice from less than 10 feet. She drew her blades and took his hand off, then continued to move towards Jalat. The woman's guards went down to slug throwers, and several pulse shots hit the would-be tyrant from just barely too far away. Fenth's eyes narrowed. "That won't do!" she shrieked at the top of her lungs.
"She is mine. Secure the room."
One final shot from a slug thrower knocked the pistol out of Gillard's hand. Fenth looked over to see a jaunty salute from Doc. "Show off." Mendesh's voice came over the comms.
"Technical. Have you re-established the feed?" "They never turned it off, boss. Apparently Gillard wanted everyone to see her die."
A loud cackle followed the announcement, then some orders from Mendesh that Fenth didn't have the patience to listen to. She reached the bottom of the platform and took the steps at speed, a grin spreading across her face. Gillard screamed at her.
Get back, you filthy peasant, or I will have you killed slowly. I am the Empress of all sapient space, and I will be obeyed. Lay down that weapon, and I will kill you quickly. Continue, and I will spare no expense in hiring the best-paying technicians in the Empire. And they will keep you alive, even after Herc."
Fenth stabbed the woman in the stomach to shut her up. She spoke loudly for both Gillard and all her fellow Zoltans to hear.
"I killed your daughter for sending me to a peasant-hunting planet when I was but a child, so that you could hunt me down and murder me. Now, you will die like her, at the hands of those you loathe, and think yourself superior to. You are nothing. Just a thug with pretensions and a pedigree, like a stockyard animal. And now you die like one."
She brought the blade down on Gillard's neck, hard. The impossibly sharp edge cleaved scale, flesh, and bone to leave the severed head. She picked it up and held it in one hand for the camera.
"Thus is the fate of any head which would presume to wear a crown over sultans."